You all make it home separately to your houses. Owen, you make it home to Esther. And Cowan, you make it home to Elegant and Linda, your mom. Burns, you go home alone, but today it feels different because you know that your daughter is coming very soon. It gives you a sense of nostalgia as you close your eyes and drift up to sleep. Richard, you go home too, to your dad's house. You haven't seen your fiancée, Rebecca, for a while now. You've been so occupied with everything, you know she's around, but like everyone else in the town, she's trying to find the 2 lost children. Well, the 3 lost children now. Owen, when you wake up, it's not a typical morning. Usually you wake up to the sound of Esther making tea in the kitchen. But this morning, it's different. You don't hear Esther. You actually wake up quite late because of that. I guess it's just been a normal alarm clock for you for so many years now that when it's not there, you just miss out on waking up a normal time. When you do wake up, you quickly realize that she's not there. So what do?
First thing I'm doing is patting her side of the bed. It's just unusual since I've come back for me to wake up in a bed by myself. I look around the room from my laying position, pull myself up, swing my legs out of bed, slide into my slippers, throw my dressing gown over my shoulders, and then I start calling. Esther? Esther, are you downstairs? Anything?
Nothing. Not a single sound.
I'll make my way down the stairs, see if maybe she's out in the garden. Maybe she's, I don't know, maybe she's decided to do some weeding early in the morning.
You don't see her in the gardens either, but when you go downstairs, you do hear talking. Not in the garden, but it sounds like it's coming from the graveyard, which is a little further away. You think you can hear Mark, but you're not quite sure.
I'll head on out with my dressing gown and slippers on, as long as it hasn't been raining heavily or anything like that. Can I see Mark in the graveyard?
You can.
Who is he speaking with?
Mark is also speaking to John, police officer from the town. John, whose children has gone missing. Mark seems quite upset, which is unlikely for Mark because he's normally a pretty calm man. So you know when Mark is upset, there's something wrong. Esther is standing beside him too. She's not wearing any shoes, but it doesn't seem like Mark has really noticed. He's so occupied talking to John that he hasn't really seen. Esther's looking at the verge of tears. She has her hands clasped in front of her and is looking at the 2 men talking intensely.
I half walk, half stumble. Again, I'm in my slippers outside. My way towards the graveyard, a hand out. Excuse me, Mark? John? Esther? What's all this?
All 3 of them turn around. Mark immediately looks to the ground when he sees you. It's that look that Mark sometimes gives you. You've seen it before. When something has happened that he knows you're not okay with, it's almost a look of shame, like that of a child that would look into the ground if they'd done something wrong. He looks up at you and, Owen, it's terrible. Oh God.
What is it, Mark? You can talk to me.
This is when John, the police officer, steps forward and says, Reverend, how long has there been a dug-up grave in the graveyard?
I haven't been the active reverend here, and I sorry to say I've been so busy since I got back that I've not spent much time on the grounds.
When were you last at the graveyard?
When I arrived, I suppose. I've only been back short of a week.
Well, it's a problem. There has been what looks to be grave robbing, not only of valuables, but an entire body from your graveyard, or I guess, well, you still live here. I still see you as the referent of this town. Might be wrong, but I do.
Well, Mark, I'm not I'm not trying to put the responsibility on you, but you're the vicar here. I'm for intents and purposes, a soldier just on or back, having been discharged, and we hadn't even got round to talking about whether I'd take over the church again. I don't mind having the responsibility over the cemetery, if that's so. What you're saying? Either way, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to dodge responsibility here. You're telling me someone has dug up a grave, stolen a body, and therefore we assume any valuables on it. Who is it that found this open grave? I'm assuming one of you.
Mark gestures towards Esther, and Esther looks shocked, perhaps is the right word. She looks like she doesn't want to be in this situation. Her eyes are flickering from side to side, and she's clenching her hands, and she's looking down the ground. I was going for a morning walk, and then I saw something that's not right. Owen, it's not a grave that's ready for a funeral. It looked like it had been dug up quickly.
Come here, love. Let me give you a hug. You've obviously had the wind taken out of your sails a bit by all this.
It's just not right, Owen.
No, it isn't.
That poor girl.
Whose grave was it?
Well, it's that poor young girl that, well, not too long ago, I suppose. She passed away. I don't remember from what. She was the fiancée of, what's his name? Dean?
During the war, wasn't it?
Yes. I don't remember.
Well, I'm going to get you back home, Esther. I think you've had enough of a scare today to last a lifetime, and I'll put on a pot of tea. And gentlemen, if you're quite happy to wait out here once I've settled Esther down, I'll come back out and we can talk about how we're going to sort this out. I should probably get on the phone to some of our friends. I mean, as morbid as it sounds, it's not like someone's going to get far carrying a body, are they?
They both nod.
I put my arm around Esther, walk her back to the house. I speak soothingly to her. I hug her tight. I put on a tea. I notice, of course, she's not wearing shoes. And so the thought that she went out for a walk barefoot this early in the morning seems unlikely. Is she still in her nightdress?
She is.
Yeah. Some things aren't adding up, but how much of it is down to her memory failing and everything else going on, I do not know. But it isn't in Owen's nature to interrogate his wife. He can't do it. He can't possibly see her as having any kind of darkness to her. She is a beautiful, loving, innocent woman who would never hurt a fly, and certainly wouldn't go around digging up graves. Once she's settled down with a plate of biscuits and a pot of tea in front of her, I quickly get on the phone to the 3 individuals I have been spending a lot of time with lately. More time than perhaps I'd like. To explain what little I know and request that they come to the graveyard as quickly as they can, because things seem damn rotten in Halkin. Then I head out again.
Okay. So you all get a call from Owen. Cowan, how's your morning? And what do you do? What is your reaction to the message you just got?
Well, I appreciate Owen keeping me in the loop about this kind of thing, but it does put me in a small bit of a bind. 3 people, 1 home, and my mother obsessively guarding her role as keeper of the house. She will answer the phone and be the one who brings it to me, while Elgin and I are wrapping up cleaning the morning meal. Which, as I mentioned, puts me in the terrible position of having to explain to both of them why I am off again on village work. There's no universe in which I'd want to drag my mother into this. She's a sweet and quiet woman who would worry incessantly if she knew that yesterday I was in an asylum or there are rumors of people going missing and I'm somehow wrapped up in it. Elgin, on the other hand, I just don't want to get into a conversation about, oh yeah, you're being super heroic, just like and then lose my morning to another war story. So, when Owen calls and my mother says he requires my assistance at the graveyard, I'm just going to tell a small falsehood about how the place had fallen into a little bit of a disrepair situation over the course of the war, and I'd just volunteered to help fix up some headstones, maybe tend to the fence a bit, and excuse myself from the home as quickly as possible, avoiding any questions.
Before you walk outside, you're not exactly avoiding all questions. Your mom, as you close the door behind the 2 of you, she walks up to you and looks at you, gives you that look that she gives you sometimes. That look she gives you, that look she gave you when you came home from school and had a bad day, but she could tell that you didn't want to talk about it. That look she gave you right before you went off to the mines. That worried look that only a mother can give. Cowan, it's awfully sweet of you to help so much around town. You understand that I appreciate that, right? But Cowan, what do you want to do with your life? Surely you can't be the village helper for the rest of your existence. Isn't it about time that you... What about that girl from the bar? Or perhaps you could find a job in one of the, bigger towns, not exactly Halkin. You know what I mean. I know that you just came home from war, but it seems like you're awfully busy with these errands you constantly have to run.
Yeah. No, Ma, of course. Of course you're right. And, I'm just getting a little settled, trying to find a routine, get some goodwill back from the village in these few days. That's it. Just as soon as things are all settled up, the boys are still coming back from the war. There's a lot of churn. Once that settles out, I'm happy to go looking for something. But at the moment, and what I'm not telling her, I'm talking around it. If you were drafted into the military, you had protections about returning back to your workplace. There were programs to get soldiers transitioned into civilian careers. Those did not exist for people who were drafted into the coal mines instead of the armed forces. So Carmen would be in a position of having to compete with all the war heroes across the country for open slots in factories, apprenticeships in various industries. He's not going to tell his mother that the only option he has right now is to return to the mines, and there's no universe in which he'd do that. So I will make it seem like I'm taking a gap month. I'm just putting myself back together and seeing what I want to do with the rest of my life in an aspirational tone, hoping to tamp down on her concern.
Well, as long as it doesn't last forever. Cowan, you're young, but you won't stay young forever. You don't want to end up like your mom. Alone. You know?
Oh, no, Ma. I would be thrilled if I ended up the kind of person who is so sweet and so tender and so caring like you have been for me. Don't sell yourself short.
You know how to use your word, Cowan. You got that from your dad. You go do the thing that you need to do, but don't stay out as late as you did last night. That worried me quite a bit.
Oh, believe you me, I hope it doesn't take that long. If Father Owen wants me to spend the next 15 hours, oh, he and I are going to have some words.
Good. Well, take care.
You too, Ma. I'll be back safe, don't worry. Father Owen's not that dangerous.
Well, only if you stay on his good side. She blinks. Richard, how's your morning? And how do you react to the message you just got?
Well, if I'm honest, it just confuses me even more. I mean, one moment we're focusing on missing children, and now missing bodies? How does that even connect to anything? My mind has been racing with possibilities of what we just learnt last night. Dean really seems as if he is our man, but something about it isn't right. Something about it's almost too convenient. It's like one of those mystery novel books, like, there you go, there's the culprit, there's the evidence, and real life often isn't actually like that, so I don't quite understand. But I suppose there's another issue, so I'll do my best to clean myself up, have a little quick shave if I can, have breakfast, say hello to Father. I haven't even spoken to him since I saw him at the GP the other day.
He looks up at you from his morning newspaper. That same look that he's almost always giving you. He doesn't really acknowledge you. He nods, looks down again. What are you up to today, son?
Oh, Father Owen needs a hand with something. I think it's linked to all the unpleasant things happening, so I seem to be the only running around young doctor on hand.
Richard Wald, the investigator.
I suppose you could say that. Yes, it is a little bit like one of those stories you used to read me.
Richard, have you been thinking more about the offer I gave you?
I wrinkle my nose a little, already thinking about just the other day where a young lady died under my care, theoretically at least. Yes, I have, Father. I'm thinking on it, but I just at the moment there are other things occurring. I don't think I can really focus on my employment when there's missing children.
And Rebecca? That young girl? Are the two of you still together?
Well, I certainly hope so. I managed to clear up the misunderstanding that happened between the two of you, so hopefully that is all once again fine.
Oh, Richard, my apologies about that. You know, I was just trying to help you.
I know, Father, I know. It's not a problem. It's all right. Out of interest, in regard to yesterday, did you find anything unusual about young Anne?
No. It looks to be she died of infection, which, well, more specifically sepsis, which is not surprising with the living standards you explained to me in the state you found her in. She had some sort of seizure due to high fever, most likely. And that is all I can tell from the abduction I did.
I pause for a moment before saying, if I'd been a little quicker getting her to you, could we have done something?
No, Richard. This is not your doing. You couldn't have done anything. I'm proud of what you did. You helped her as quickly as you could, and even I wouldn't be able to help a girl in that situation. She had a body temperature that was unusually high, even when you got her body to me, and I would imagine that it had been cooling down for a while before you got her to my office. I'm actually quite surprised that you managed to keep her alive for such a long time. Well done, son.
Thank you, Father. I don't know what to say. I don't know. I feel I could have done better. I feel I could have recognized it was sepsis earlier.
Richard, listen. If you want to be a doctor, you have to accept that not all lives can be saved. Oh, trust me, I wanted to save every single life when I was your age. And I felt just as guilty as you are now when I couldn't. But you can't bear the burden of all those lost lives on your cape. That is going to destroy you in the end. You have to grow an acceptance of that.
I suppose you're right, Father. I just, I'm not entirely sure I'll be able to all the time. I don't know.
Oh, Richard. It's in your blood. You know? There's no not being able to. There's no doing something else. No. My father was a doctor. His father was a doctor. And you're going to be a doctor. That's just how it is.
I nod, my memories going back to some of the things that happened on the front. Many of the faces I was unable to save. And I don't know. Part of me thinks it wasn't lack of skill, but courage. That if I'd been a bit braver, I could have run out into the field of fire and got someone a little sooner to the hospital, or stayed a bit longer when there was that bombing. It's the bombing where I got my injury, a mild one, lucky for me, and lucky for so many others. Still, I nod and say, thank you, Father. I'll try not to be too late. Again, I something to do with bodies. Something's been happening at the cemetery, apparently. I am sure that it's nothing too serious, hopefully.
What has been happening at the cemetery?
I wasn't really sure. Father Owen said something about someone's been tampering with the graves? Or there's a body missing?
A body? Body snatching, Hawkin, this hasn't been happening for, 60 years?
Well, missing children is not a common thing either, is it, Father? Something's definitely amiss. Father, have you seen the blue lights in the mountains? I saw them last night from a window in the Delby Psychopathic Hospital, and I was wondering if you'd seen them.
I have, on occasion, but I have not given them much thought.
Why not? It's a little odd, isn't it? It could be anything.
It is, my son, but we've been at war for such a long time. I think my mind has been elsewhere.
I suppose you make a good point. I have a feeling we're all going to have to investigate soon, because and I lean over the breakfast table, I think it's possible that the individual who took the children may have taken them somewhere in that area.
The mountains?
Yes.
That is a long and dangerous road to take children. Well, at least if they're alive.
I grimace a little at that statement.
Let's pray to God that they are.
I like to think that they will be, Father. I think as soon as we get this sorted out this morning, we're going to get everyone organised. We're going to have to get some able-bodied people up in the mountains. I'll volunteer if I have to, and we're going to go and we're going to look as best we can. It's like you said, he can't have gone too far into the mountains with children, so that there must be maybe a cave or a clearing he left them in, or something like that. Maybe. That's what I'm hoping for.
I wish I could help you, but it's been, decades since I went to the mountains. Before you were born. I'm sure a lot has changed since.
I smile at that and say, Father, I'm not expecting you to go traipsing around the mountains now.
No, I wouldn't. But perhaps I could give you a helping hand. But something. You can take whatever you need from my office. Take some first aid equipment.
Yes, that's actually a bloody good idea. Yes, I'll do that. Thank you, Father. I better be going now. I don't want to be late. But again, I'll hopefully be back for dinner tonight, at least.
Take care.
I will, Father, I promise. And with that, I go upstairs to get, this time, a proper little medical kit that I didn't have for the last 2 days. I'm hoping I don't need it, but at least I'll have it. And with that, I put on my jacket and quickly head to the church.
Baron, what about you?
After having come back yesterday, I took it upon me to go over to the police station for the late people that were staying there late to report our findings, and then I made my way back, and I started trying to make the place a bit nicer for my upcoming guests. And that is also what I've been doing this morning. I've hardly made it out of my striped nightcap as I'm walking around the house, skip breakfast, and I go around and I get stuff out of rooms that I'm not using currently. The guest room has been a bit cluttered, so now I'm trying to get things out from there and make it nice and hospitable. After clearing a few things out and trying to find something that would be nice for them to entertain themselves with, I start making some calls for people around the city whose children have grown up now, see if there are any beds that I could bring over. Have to have them in the living room, possibly, but it's not too bad. And when Owen calls, I'm sitting with a book I found about turtles, sea turtles, that I'm enjoying, and I think this might be fun reading for the children. And I tried to explain to Owen that I'm busy. I'm getting the house in order. What do you say to that?
Well, I think it's a bit urgent, Bern. I would very much appreciate I would very much appreciate your opinion. You know, you're someone I respect. You've got a bit of age to you. Everyone else around here is so damn young.
And there's a bit of silence on the line, and then you hear the sound of a book being smacked together. Well, if you need me, you need me. I'll be there in I'll be there in now in a minute.
What book did I interrupt you reading? Not the Bible, I'm guessing.
Well, could have been, but this time it was sea turtles, their life and whereabouts.
Skilled padder is what they call them in certain parts of Europe.
Skilled padder. I don't have that translation. I thought it could be interesting, perhaps for the children. I don't know if you have anything that would entertain young ones.
You know, I might actually, from when I used to do Sunday school. I might have some toys and activities in the rectory, but we can talk about that later. And don't worry, they're not all Jesus themed or anything like that. Listen, I would really appreciate it if you did come out. You know, I value you being around, Bern, and I'm really feeling out of touch with everything that's going on here.
Yeah, it is a bit strange, isn't it? Marty's the same, though. Happy about that, but Is John there, is it?
He is, yes. John is standing by.
Strange. Well, you'll have to fill me in more when I come. I'll be there now in a minute, and I tear off my nightcap and gown and get dressed as quickly as I can to make my way down to the church and the cemetery.
Well, you all gather at the cemetery. John is gone at this point, and Mark is pacing the cemetery, walking around the grave, looking down the ground, looking confused, puzzled, looking out of place.
This is odd. When did this happen? I kneel down to look at the earth.
I have emerged from the house, dressed, and seeing Byrne has got there in record time. So glad you came. I see John's made his way back to the station. So, apparently Esther was out on a morning walk and just stumbled upon this exhumed grave. Dean's fiancée was buried here, Byrne.
Oh no. Oh, it's all coming back to him, isn't it? Did John say if he was going to investigate the mountains in the area around the...
No, he didn't. He didn't say a thing, and honestly, I'm thinking it's going to be down... listen, I'll talk about that in a minute. Mark, do you know anything about what happened here? About who might have dug this body up?
Mark looks up. I don't know. I
mean, you've been the vicar for the part. Listen, I'm not going to lose my temper, but you've been the vicar in my absence, and what that means is I rely on you to keep this place in order to a degree, and that means you need to be keeping an eye on the cemetery and who's coming and who's going, and if anyone's acting a bit strange. Has anyone been acting a bit strange? When you've been walking around doing any kind of doing funerals or any other service, have you seen anyone lingering by this particular gravestone? You know, just think.
We had a funeral yesterday, and I could swear that everything seemed normal. Everything seemed normal yesterday.
So there was no one here.
This must have happened during the night. That's my only guess.
Oh, I'm not doubting that. You know, clearly it's been done under cover of darkness, otherwise someone might have objected. My point is, you don't do this kind of thing on an impulse, do you? You plan it. If you're gonna dig up a grave and steal a body, that's the kind of thing I'm guessing you think about for a while.
I would suppose so.
And has there been anyone around here? Anyone at all that's spent a bit too long in the cemetery a bit recently, or just spent time close to this grave?
Oh, well, the only person tied close to the grave is, well, Dean. But I have not seen him around here for quite a while.
He wasn't here. He's up at the psychiatric hospital.
Oh, I had no idea.
I slowly have arrived by this point, but I've allowed the conversation to go as I've just sort of nodded and listened. But it's at this point I interrupt and say, "Wait, Vicar? Sorry, Father Mark? Sorry, is it Father Mark or is it Vicar Mark?"
You could call me whatever you want.
We're both reverends, son.
Right. Yeah, yes, sorry, Owen. Reverend Mark, do you have a phone? The church does have a phone, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, we have a phone at the office.
If you'll excuse me, I just want to make a quick call, and I just rush quickly to the church.
Of course. You get to the office, and there is a phone.
I go to the phone, and the other day, I feel I would have attempted to have remembered at least what the phone number would be for the Delby Psychopathic Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ring the hospital right now.
Okay. You ring, and the sound of a woman's voice appears in the other end. Delby Psychopathic Hospital.
I'm terribly sorry, but I desperately need to speak to Nurse Rhea. Is Nurse Rhea available to speak just for a few moments? This is extremely important.
And who are you exactly?
Richard Ward, we were there the other day. This is in regard to the investigations currently happening in Holkin regarding the missing children. I lie on that last part.
Are you from Holkin Police?
I am currently working with them, yes.
Oh. I suppose I could... Give me a moment. A little while passes, actually what feels like quite a while. And then Rhea appears in the phone. Nurse Rhea speaking.
Rhea, it's me, Richard Walt. Remember we met the other night, literally.
Yes, I recall.
Listen, this is very important. I'm saying this, shivering a little at some of the lies I've just told, but I'm glad I at least got through to the nurse as I look outside at the others. Rhea, this is very important. I need you to go and check on Dean right away, and I need you to tell me if he has any dirt on his clothing, any evidence of soil, or if there's any soil on his bed, anything that seems like he's been somewhere with lots of soil. You need to do it really quickly.
Oh, I apologize, Richard. I don't have anything to do with the patient you're talking about. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry, but I can't talk right now. Have a good day. And she hangs up.
I practically open my mouth in surprise and then annoyance. And then she hangs up and I put down the phone and I swear, bloody hell! Ah! And I head outside in frustration.
I'm looking over what's been dug up. In the meantime, is the whole casket taken or just body taken out of it?
There's nothing aside from the casket in the grave that's been opened.
So they have dug a hole, they've taken out the casket and then removed the body from the casket.
Yes.
Well, this would take a long time. I look around and I see perhaps Carwin coming to the scene.
Are you there, Carwin?
I can be there.
And I give you a nod and then start looking for a shovel or whatever instrument that could have been used to dig it up, just to start looking for any other kind of clues.
It should come to the surprise of no one that Carwin is last to arrive. He'll tell you it's because he lives on the far side of the village, but we all know the truth. I'm just late by nature. So I'll arrive seeing Byrne already in the process of working on this grave and kind of stalk over in that direction. So, do you know what this is about yet?
No, the missing body is that of, well, Dean's ex-fiancée, one that died, obviously. And I don't know, Richard went to make a call. Not sure what that was about, but well, everything somehow points to Dean. You know, he's the center of so much of this.
Oh, I mean, bad enough, I'm just staring down into the grave, making the connection between Dean's previous hobbies and now this exhumed corpse, and that does not fill me with anything good. So I will distract myself with good works and I guess look around and see if there's a second shovel until the Reverend and Richard return to us.
Carwin, you remember Dean's fiancée, Christine. Actually, you were pretty good friends for a while. Her passing shocked you when you got that letter. You were still in the mines at the time. It seems so weird that someone so young would die of pneumonia. You've heard of it happening before, but for Christine, she was so full of life. She was actually one of the only people in town that took the time out to give you a smile, talk to you, ask you about your day. One of the only people that made you feel like home. Now that you're seeing her grave, you can see her tombstone there, her name on it, the date when she was born and the date she passed away. Simple tombstone, but beautiful in its simplicity. Now that you're seeing that, it seems so surreal. It's kind of hitting you. She's gone, and not only is she gone, but someone took her body.
It's really a metaphor of a moment, isn't it? Coming to this graveyard like it's Hulk and shovel in hand, looking to bury what happened, ending up digging it up instead. I make it maybe 2 or 3 shovelfuls into this process before I just can't. I've been doing a whole lot of running on buried emotions up to this moment. Swallowing down my first meeting with Elgin, pushing aside all the dirty looks from Byrne, now completely ignoring what happened in his backyard, and then the fear at the hospital. And all of these things, it's just been pushing down the reactions to things that are happening to me. I don't have agency in this moment, and all of that coming together with the symbolism, the finality of this moment, this gravestone, it's just a bit too much. So I will take that last shovelful of earth, turn it to wherever it was going, and then just shove the shovel down to the ground, lean forward, my hands on the handle, and then just drop my head into it. Just taking a deep sigh and muttering profanity to myself.
What are you doing, Colin? We're supposed to find proof of evidence of someone who has been there, not filling the grave.
It's not just a grave, all right? And this outburst it comes out of nowhere. It's her grave. And I knew her, and God, she was the only thing about this town that ever showed any kindness or hope for me. So I don't know, Byrne. Maybe all those years doing police shit has changed you in a way that life hasn't changed me, but you want to dig. You want to look. But just give me 5 fucking seconds to remember my friend, all right? Can you do that?
Language, boy. It's Mr. Thompson to you. I go over and I start looking at the casket, trying to see if there's anything in it, anything left, anything that stands out.
Do you want to roll a spot hidden roll?
Yes, please. A 50 under 60.
As you're kneeling down, you don't really see anything in the casket. You do see that its sides have been pried open. It hasn't been the nails haven't been carefully removed, anything like that. It seems like it's been a rush job. Someone had to do it very quickly. You also see that there's footsteps around the grave. Footsteps that are on the other side of where you're standing right now. So you assume that it's none of yours. And when you look at the footsteps, you recognize that it's the same exact footsteps that were in the Clark's house.
The military boots. And I think back to seeing Dean. Was he wearing military boots in the hospital?
He was not. But he did have some boots by his bedside. But none of you really took time out to look at them.
Sort of scold myself for not paying more attention. Make note of these things, that it's been rushed. And all this should have made sounds. Especially if someone does it like this. There's no houses nearby, are there?
The only house nearby is Owen's house, but it's quite well, you can see it, but it's a little far away.
I note the footprints and I just trying to figure out the general directions they're going in.
It seems like it's a little difficult for you to gather. It seems like they're just everywhere. Like someone has been struggling to open up the casket. Someone has been struggling to remove the lid. Someone has been struggling to drag something heavy. You assume it's the body. It's a little difficult to see where they are going currently.
Mm-hmm. But can I assume it's one person?
Yes, you see the same type of footstep.
And I point at them. I first throw a sideways glance at Karin standing with the shovel, and then I look over to Owen. This is the same footprints as in Clark's house.
Honestly, I'm not a forensic specialist or anything like that. And I couldn't tell you whether the boots we saw before were of a certain size and this one is different. Honestly, I'm feeling increasingly like we are missing the wood for the trees. This is of course terrible, what's happened here. Sacrilegious if you want to go that far. Whatever's happened. But here's the thing. We know that the most likely person behind this is Dean, but the Dean we encountered yesterday was not up to something like this. So unless he's pulling a fantastic charade, he's being set up. Either way, the one thing we do know, and I'm sorry I keep coming back to it, but the one thing we do know is we've heard about and since we've seen these lights from the mountains. Yes?
Yeah.
And it's unusual. No one local has any explanation for it. And I don't know why it would be connected. But it seems it's only since these lights started flashing that some strange things have been going on in this town. Maybe I'm making a connection where there isn't one, maybe it's just a coincidence. And I know that mountain range is pretty large. It's not like we can just go hiking off hoping we bump into something. But here's what I propose. And feel free, you're the police officer, you might tell me this is completely nonsense, but here's my proposal. Knowing that we probably can't get much farther with Dean, we've told the police everything we know, and if they act on it or not, that's on their heads now. We can't force them to do it. What we can do is look into these lights, these strange phenomena, and the fact that these bizarre creatures, don't forget them, those rats, that disintegrated practically, seem to be coming from that direction. We make a camp in the afternoon on the edge of the woods, close to the mountains, so that when these lights start up, we are close enough to be able to identify where in the mountains they're coming from. Soon as we've got a good read on where they're coming from, then we investigate. It could be something as simple as, I don't know, they're building a mine and they haven't told anyone in the community, but I doubt it. Why would they be doing that at night?
I agree with you that there is definitely something connected to the mountains. I didn't pay much heed to it yesterday, but there was a man, white-haired man, strange tattoos at the hospital. Just walked up to me and said, "The mountains can hear us." I don't think it's relevant, but there is something relevant about what's happening there.
I begin to hurry back at this point to Byrne and Owen, clearly looking frustrated and joining the conversation just as it ends.
What did your dad find out, Richard? About the dad? Well...
And Sepsis. A very deep infection. There was nothing we could have done. You won't bloody believe what's bloody happened. Nurse Rhea has just disavowed any information on Dean. She doesn't bloody know who he is, apparently. I think she's the one who's been helping Dean escape. She has to be.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Role-Playing, where we play the campaign The Whispers of the Mountains for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. The Whispers of the Mountains was written by Clara Herbal, who was also our keeper. We were joined by Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games, and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music is from the Cthulhu, Nyarlathotep, Jog Sothoth, Shub Niggurath, and Asathoth compilations by our friends at Cryochamber, and the Paleo Wolf album Genesis. Check them all out at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more music for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon: Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Ludwig Manford, Bob Lange, Julián, and Cameron for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of the Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening. And remember, that is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons, even death may die.